Greetings, viewers. Welcome to the 4 Pits of Doom. To win, topple all of your opponents into the pits to claim victory and burn them up and be the ruler of this underworld. Of course, that's great if the pits actually work. This tutorial is going to focus on the creation and using of unit groups in order to make detection of units going into the pits very easy. Let's take a look at what the triggers we have so far. We've got our usual trigger loader, which is needed for what we're going to be using. Then we have modify players. Following the previous tutorials, I am using this as a for loop, so I can go through and set things up for players really quickly. So I give the Minotaur some hit points, some line of sight so that they'll be more aggressive, and a bit of a change to make them actually throw each other because they don't throw each other normally. So I disable the gore action and use the normal attack to throw instead as I work around. I'll finally just kill off the god power so there's no weird interference of those. This trigger activates every 10 seconds on a loop, and it will use the variable system to set a random heading and create an Acanthos god in the middle facing a random direction, just to mix things up a little bit. We have a lose trigger. This should be familiar from the tutorial with the archers for the lose messages. I go through all the players, I check if the Minotaur count is less than 1. I play a sound effect, which some people may recognize from a lot of my maps. I chat to say that they've been defeated, and I set that player defeated and ending it. So nothing too strange there. And finally, I just set the revealer so it can reveal the whole map, so we can see it all times, even if we lose our Minotaur. So that covers the main triggers, but as I say, we don't have anything to make the pits work. So I'll introduce us to the unit group. Unit groups are a bit like armies, where you can add units to them and you can do things to the units in there. The main difference is that there is no limit to the size of a unit group, and the way that you add and remove can change a little bit. But it will provide what we need for doing our processing. Let's start by declaring a unit group. Now, a unit group is a bit like a variable, in that you can declare it inside of a trigger and then use it for the effects in there. However, this is not very useful if we're going to want to use it globally across potentially multiple triggers. This is where the idea of globals come in. Globals is a special scoping where things declared in the global will be available everywhere as opposed to just inside the one trigger. To do a global, we'll need to insert a global start, and the things we declare need to be before the other triggers. The most convenient way to do that is to just stick it in below the initialized trigger loader and then do the declarations there, because we know already that the trigger loader is always going to be the first trigger. So let's declare our global scope. Now all trigger effects after this will be global, so let's declare them. The main one is we just want to create a unit group. There we go. We create our unit group, and let's call this units. Then we need to end the global, similar to like the other triggers that need ending. So let's just do global end, and there we go. Next thing we want to do is we want to add all our Minotaurs to that unit group so that they'll be processed in the detection. So let's just call this add Minotaurs to unit group. And we need to do this once at the start. So let's do that. Unit group. We want to do add. And because we've declared it globally, this will now be accessible. If it wasn't declared globally, we wouldn't be able to see it unless it was declared in this particular trigger. So let's add all the Minotaurs in there. So So we'll just select all of them. But we don't want the revealer, so we'll just take that out of the selection. And we'll select that. And we want to add that to the unit group. Finally, we need to make the lava work by basically destroying the minotaurs that are in it. So we'll just have a continuously looping trigger that just checks the members and destroys them if needed. So we'll take the unit group and we'll start our processing. Similarly to the unit creation handler, we have a lander system, which will mean it will get called on every member of the unit group below. Unlike the unit creation handler, this is not a handler itself, but just a process that you can call at any time. So unlike the unit creation handler where you create once and it just works, this one you explicitly say when you want to process the unit group. So that's why we have the trigger as looping. Let's just give that a name of lava so it's easy to see. So first of all, we need to get hold of the position of the unit in order to check its height. So let's sort that out. So we can declare a variable to represent that. And we want it to be the unit position as a vector. We're going to be using the y coordinate part of the vector in order to compare the height. So let's just say unit position. And we want to set it to the unit ID that was declared before. Next, we want to declare what height we want the minotaur to be destroyed at, because that'll be where it's fallen into a pit. So let's have a look at that. So if we want to check that the variable is a certain value, we want the vector y is value, and we have that as unit position, and we need to find out what the height is. The easiest way to do that is to use the cliff tool and sample the height. So here it says the height is 5.5, so we need to set it to be a height just a little bit above the pit in order to work. So we'll say if the minotaur is less than 6.5 meters, then we want the effects to happen. And for that, let's just change the unit type to some flame, causing it to disappear. So we'll do unit.change type. We need the ID version so that we can use our group member. And we'll do a flame. There we go, Tartarian Gate Flame will do for job. And once we've turned it to a flame, we don't need to check its height anymore because it's already become a flame, so we should remove it from the unit group. So we can do unit group dot remove current unit, and that basically removes whatever unit you're currently processing will be removed from the group. Then we need to end the condition. So let's sort that out. If end. And finally we need to end the processing on the unit group. And we should have process end. There we go. So let's have a quick recap of what we did. So first of all, we added a global scope so we could declare our unit group of units. We added the minotaurs to the unit group, which is this selection here. Then for the lava, we had a looping trigger, which goes through all members of the unit group. Actually, that needs to be called units. That's still called unit group. We declare a vector to take the unit position from the unit ID source unit. We check if the y value, which I've put x for some reason, that should be vector y. Not storage version. Vector value is value, that's it. Unit position is less than or equal to 6.5. We change the unit type into a flame. We then remove the unit. We end the if check, and we end the processing of the entire unit group. Let's give that a shot and see if it works. Takes a moment to load it, being 12 players. There we go. Let's see if we can knock out a few players. Oh, there goes purple. And it's defeated. Oh, there we go. And we've lost. So you'll see that the candles are going around as well, and for units. Now, wouldn't it be great if the Arcantoses would also be burnt up when they go in the lava? Because I mean, yeah, it's great throwing opponents into the pit, but it's kind of disappointing if you don't end up throwing other enemies in there and seeing them burn up as well, giving that satisfactory of getting a clean defeat. Now, obviously, we can't quite do the same trick as we did with the Minotaurs in just adding it to the unit group, because the Arcantoses don't actually exist yet. However, we should know that there is a way to deal with that, which is the unit creation handler. So let's use one of those. Let's call this add created units to group. And as I remember, we do not put it on loop, we just have it as active, and we'll add this unit creation handler, so let's do that. So unit created handler start, and we'll check if it's the Arcantos god. If unit unit is proto unit by ID. So we're going to do the unit ID. We want to check that it is an Arcantos god. And if so, we want to add it to our unit group. And we need to add it by ID. So we called it units, and it's unit ID that was the thing we're adding. And we want to end the if, and then end the unit created handler. There we go. So this just checks for all units being created, checks if it is an Arcantos god. If so, we add it to the unit group. And there we go. So now the Arcantos gods should now also be included with the lava logic. Let's give it a go and see if we can throw one in there without dying ourselves. That would be nice. Though in my luck, an opponent will get a lucky hit on me and defeat me instead. Okay, here's an Arcantos god. Let's see if we can bait him towards the pit. I don't want to go in that pit. We're supposed to get one of these in. Wow, no one's been defeated. It's going to be a long battle. Wow, that is a long stun time. There we go. One just went in on the left. Let's just see if we can get a second one in, just to show it off. Or not. Well, I guess I've learned a very important lesson, which is I am not very good at my own bit of doom type math. But hopefully you saw the one off camera going into the pit, so that'll prove that it works. This rounds off our unit group trigger tutorial. We have gone over what you can use a unit group for. I've explained briefly about the use of global scope for declaring variables, and in this case we needed it for the unit groups. And we have also covered again a use for the unit creation handler for adding units that don't exist yet into the unit group so that they can be processed together with the other units. I hope this tutorial is useful, and I look forward to hopefully to seeing some maps that hopefully some of you will create. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.